Welcome, everyone. This is Up Your Rank FPL. We are your hosts. I'm AC. That's Bri, bringing you another double game week 18 review, game week 19 preview. If you guys are new around here, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like this video if you're enjoying the content, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at Up Your Rank FPL. Bri, my guy, Wagwan.
Hey man, it's that crazy time of year. Happy New Year, everyone. It is the first Up Your Rank FPL episode of 2023. And boy, was it a shit game week. Not as happy with some of the results. Chelsea continued their relegation form. Their form on the form guide is equal to Wolves at the moment, just throwing that one out there. And Wolves is sitting in 19th place. So at least over the last 5 games. So it's a little crazy. FPL wise, definitely a mixed bag. We can jump into things a little bit, but not too crazy. I'm happy to see the games going on and having a lot of football to watch, but not as happy with the team. How about you? How you feeling about the game week, man?
Listen, I think with this particular game week, I'm not shocked at how my team performed. I'm a little shocked that Cancelo didn't play at all, but I'm very happy about it. But overall, I think the biggest thing about the game week that has me kind of shaken is Tony. And seeing him go down with that knee injury, there's some positive news that we're going to be able to share. But that was the one that was kind of freaking me out because that means there's a bunch of fires in my team. And if I'm looking at the points, though, I can't complain if you're doing a little higher than the average. So let's break down your team. Show us how you did, man. What's going on? Why are you disappointed with the overall FPL points, or maybe not as happy as you could have been? Talk to me.
Well, here's the thing. Overall before substitutions, there are a total of 3 zeros in the team. Cancelo, like you mentioned, didn't get minutes again. That is a little bit concerning, especially because we know how weird Pep Guardiola can be. Out of nowhere, he can just decide that, you know what? You're dropped. You're no longer needed. Don't need you no more. Team is fine without you for any reason. And so I'm hoping that this is not the treatment Cancelo is getting, because that would be really crazy. But we've seen it from Pep before. He's done this countless times. So we really got to keep an eye on that to see who starts the Chelsea game. If Lewis gets to start against Chelsea, Cancelo is officially out of my team. I'm telling you that from now. I won't care about what his ownership is like. That is too crazy for 7.2 million to not be 7.3 million to not be started 3 games in a row. Not going to work. Gabriel, another zero from Arsenal. Arsenal was playing against Brighton. Never really thought a clean sheet was on here in terms of how good Brighton are attacking wise. 2 goals conceded, yellow card as well, takes home no points. And then Mitrovic, I got to be honest, I was watching this game, and I think when it was about the 93rd minute, I turned it off. I went on to something else. I think the City game was still going into extra time or something crazy because of a delay in the game. So I stopped watching, only to check the app and see Mitro 0 points. I swear it was on 2. Got a late penalty and missed. So those were the 3 worst performers in the team. Kevin De Bruyne, nothing again, another 1-pointer. He's another question mark in the team that I gotta say I'm really questioning. And based on how he's looking, I'm not necessarily loving it. But in comparison, Mo's positioning again, I'm still not. I still think Mo is playing way too wide. Trippier got his 8 points. He has been the most consistent performer of the season behind Erling Haaland. David De Gea, clean sheet again. I'm happy with my goalkeeper pick so far. Martinelli back 10 points. He's looking he played really well this game. I'm not gonna lie. Martinelli played he was a shell of himself during the World Cup. I think he was a little bit, the bigger stars for Brazil made him kind of shrink a little bit, but he looked good. Rashford, the very same. Holland did his usual bagging a goal. We had a little bit of a scare with him going down, early in the game. I
Mm-hmm.
know everybody was clutching like, yo, I hope this guy's okay, because it would actually force us to make some captaincy decisions. But he's fine. Finished the game. And then Darwin Nunez continues to look worse than some of the strikers that Liverpool have in their academy. Darwin Nunez does
This
not
guy.
he does not look like he is up to par at all. He got lucky with the shot that came off the post for the own goal. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, 51 points. Patterson will come in with 1 point. Andrea sits on the bench with a 5-pointer. Um, the average for the game week was 48, after all the substitutions and everything. And with 52, not that it's good, moving in the right direction, but not that great a game week overall. How about you, man? How'd your team get on?
So I'm kind of happy in the sense of at least being over the average. 60 points after the substitutions are made. When I'm looking at my squad outside of some of the players that you have, because of course we have a lot of the same players, Bruno Fernandez, I'm starting off in the midfield. What a give and go to Rashford. Now, Ten Hag, listen, that benching of Rashford, had Rashford not come in and scored that goal, what would it have looked like for Ten Hag? Now, I know that no player is bigger than the club. I get that. I'm just saying, sometimes if I were a manager, which I'm not, but if I were a manager, sometimes I may have to hold my own pride too, because Rashford is on fire. And if you did not put that kid in the game to score that goal, people may have lost their mind. Keep in mind now,
Yeah,
because they only won by one goal.
yeah, but
That
it
was the
might
goal.
it. To be fair to him, though, it might have been the physios, just keeping an eye on how much Rashford's played over the last couple of weeks and said, yo, he probably can't do 90 minutes. Maybe you could get him for 30. Could have been one of those.
No, from what I heard, it was a disciplinary action.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
so you didn't hear? Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a
No, I
disciplinary
didn't. I
action.
didn't hear that.
Yeah,
Fair.
that's what happened. That's why he got benched for the first half. It was like, all right,
Gotcha.
get in check.
Gotcha.
It
Gotcha.
had nothing to do with that. That's it's done. It's sorted now. I'm sure Rashford is going to be in the starting lineup come the next game against Bournemouth. I'm not expecting anything else to happen to him, but he's on
Okay.
fire. You got to play your best man. You're fighting for a chance at Champions League again. You really want to stay where you are, right? You don't want to be going up and down year after year between UEFA, between Champions League and then Europa League. You don't want to be that club. You're
Yep.
Manchester United, right? Assert your dominance and stay in the top four year in, year out, year in, year out, like you have in the past. Now, outside of Fernandez, obviously I have Rashford on the squad, so very happy. It was such a beautiful give and goal. Tony. I'm jumping to my forwards because I'm really only talking about the guys who've returned, who you don't have. Tony, my gosh. What could you say about this guy? What can you say about him? One goal, one assist. They're facing West Ham United. West Ham United is poor, but I guess the biggest worry for me is that Tony's gone down and now he's flagged, right? Thomas Frank said that he's possibly going to be good to go. It was a muscle injury more than anything else. So he may actually be good to go in Liverpool fixture tomorrow. And as we know, Liverpool can concede. Anybody can score on Liverpool. Shrewsbury Hall scored on Liverpool. So anybody and their mamas can score on Liverpool. So Tony's going to be, I can't wait for Tony to, I hope he comes back. I obviously hope Liverpool wins, but I hope Tony can bag a goal. Outside of that, it's one, twos, and threes everywhere else across the board with White in the back, Martial up front for United, Almiron in the midfield. Um, and Kepa in goal. Like, I think got some save points. How is Nottingham Forest even taking that many shots where Kepa has to get save points? What is going on? I wish I watched the game. I'm going to have to watch the highlights to figure out what happened. On my bench, though, I had Ward with 3. So if it was Ward, if it was Kepa, nothing would have changed. Andreas, 3 points, got the assist off of an own goal. So he has 5 points for me on the bench. He's not coming in for anybody. But then I have the Wolves defender, Hugo Bueno Lopez. Now, the reason why I brought him in is because he was 3.9 mil, and I realized that he was starting a couple of games. So when we had the wild card, I said, okay, let me just throw this guy out as a bench fodder. Thank God that I did, because Cancelo not playing, Bueno comes in, brings me to 60 on the game week. Not a terrible game week, but when the average is 48, and when you're somebody like me who's trying to jump ahead, I need 20, 30, 40 points above the game week average. Obviously it's a big ask, but I'm happy. I think continue to move in the right direction with this particular squad.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Definitely a big, I mean, good overall, though. I think good, both above the average.
Right.
But like you said, in terms of where you're currently placed and where we're currently ranked, definitely need some higher points to get things moving in the right direction. So I feel you on
Absolutely.
that.
Question for you then. Just like we did a couple of days ago, biggest disappointment of the game week for you?
Probably just, to keep it short and sweet, I'd probably just say Mitro's penalty miss. That's the easier one. Hey, that one penalty miss ends up being a 6, maybe with a bonus point, maybe 7-point swing, and then instead of looking at a 52-point game week with a 48 average, it's a, 59, 60 point. You know what I mean? So that's probably the bigger one for me. Although I do like the fact that he missed the penalty. And I not like it, but I'm kind of okay with it because I'm hoping for something that happens this particular game week. But we'll talk about that one more when we get into the teams team
Fair.
selection. But what about you? Biggest disappointment for the game week?
Ben White being substituted at the 59-minute mark when Arsenal still had the clean sheet. That was the 60-minute mark. That was not no 59-minute mark. Ben White was robbed of 5 points. 1 for playing 60 minutes, 4 for the clean sheet, because Brighton didn't score until the 60 something after Ben White had come off the pitch. For me, that is the absolute biggest disappointment of the game week, because this is exactly why I went with Ben White instead of people like Saliba or Gabriel. We talked about it before, where I'm bringing in Ben White because he's cheaper and he's more likely to get substituted off when Arsenal still have the clean sheet intact. That was the strategy. So to be substituted off at the 59-minute mark, at the 59-minute mark, my blood is boiling, brother.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm frustrated. And I know other people have been frustrated because I was preeing what was going on Twitter. And there's a lot of managers who share my frustration, especially when you have other websites who are saying that Ben White came off at the 60th minute mark.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the Premier League site, 59. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's 5 points. That goes a long way. We still have more than half the season, or about half the season to go. I need every single point I can get, and I just feel as though myself and Ben White owners, all 13% of us, I don't know how many of us played him, but 13% who own him, we were all robbed of 5 points, or a potential 5 points.
That's fair. Okay.
Biggest I guess the best thing about the game week for you?
Manchester United, David De Gea keeping a clean sheet. Brought him in for the fixtures. After the wild card, kept a clean sheet and got a save point against Nottingham Forest. And then he doubles it up, gets a clean sheet, and a save point against Wolves. Love it. 14 points in 2 game weeks from him. Very happy with how he's performing. I hope they can do the trifecta, because I brought him in for the 3 games. Hope he can do his business, because after this game week, he will be getting benched for Danny Ward come game week 20. And, if if that happens, I think it would be a very stark contrast to how, the first few game weeks in the season went with my goalkeeper picks and being unable to get any points. I would love to get some, repaid for the hard work that I'm doing here on the transfer front for my goalkeepers. So happy with David De Gea.
But I think for me, if I'm trying to answer that same question, I guess it'd have to be Tony. Just with a player who I own, the goal and the assist, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a shocker or a big surprise, but just in terms of what he was able to do on my team, I didn't have the confidence to obviously put the armband on him. Not when you have somebody like Haaland versus Everton. But 12 points, my biggest hauler of the game week. Definitely super excited about that. Let's move on. Let's talk about our transfer plans going into game week 19. I could actually kick it off.
Yeah, jump in. You got the transfers you had rolled last week. So what are your plans looking like?
I'm stuck. Reece James has dropped in price. I still held on to him, so I've already lost 0.1 mil. And I'm looking at obviously removing James from the team. But after that, I guess I'm a little stuck because I have Tony being flagged and there aren't really any forwards who I want. And I'm not looking to keep Martial. At this point, the strategy was to remove a United player if I'm sticking to my strategy. James was
Gotcha.
never supposed to be a part of being removed from this game week. To be honest with you, I may only make one transfer and roll the other one again because I'm not too sure where the fire is. And I just feel as though Martial before facing Bournemouth might not be the best idea. I may as well keep all three United players, go into game week 20 with 2 free transfers, and then get rid of Fernandez and Martial because I'm going to hold on to Rashford.
Gotcha.
And at that, I think that's what makes the most sense. Now, if I'm going to be looking at my defenders and who I'm possibly going to bring into the team for James, it's tough. It's really tough because if I make 2 transfers, I could play the United game and get a United defender. But I don't think it
Gotcha.
makes
Yeah.
sense because I don't like their next couple of fixtures. But I also don't think that I can't say that I don't think that Arsenal and City are going to score. Arsenal and they may score, but I don't know. United is looking solid defensively. Is it possible that United could keep 2 clean sheets or even draw, if not even win, both of those next games? It's not unlikely. But if I'm being realistic with where I'm going to go, because obviously I can't have 4 United players in this squad at this particular moment, I was actually thinking about bringing in, and I actually don't feel confident fully saying this, bringing in a Liverpool defender. Now, it doesn't make sense, especially against Brentford and that I have Tony, but it's just playing the long game
Fair.
as
That's fair.
opposed to looking at the one fixture. And if I play the long game, I have 5.8 mil in the bank, and I'd actually be looking to bring in somebody who I hope when Liverpool turns it around could start keeping clean sheets, a Virgil van Dijk or a
Gotcha.
Matchit. Now,
Okay.
that's more on the fence. I don't think it's the best idea. It's the worst idea. That's why I'm presenting that one first. If I'm looking at one single game week, it's so hard because there are all of these fixtures that I think everybody can score in.
Yeah.
But it might actually be a Brighton defender against
Against
Everton.
Everton.
Maybe
Gotcha.
somebody like Dunk. But that's me again playing for 1 week, and I'm not so sure if that's what I want to do. I feel as though I
Gotcha.
need to be playing for a couple weeks down the line. And when I'm looking at any particular Brighton defenders, none of them look that great. But Brighton's fixtures after the Liverpool fixture do look better. And that's why I'm looking at a Brighton defender for the
Gotcha.
likes of Reece James.
Gotcha.
And if I go that route in the next five, for example, Brighton would have Everton, Liverpool, Leicester, Bournemouth, and Crystal. Is it possible that somebody like Lewis Dunk um, could help keep a couple of clean sheets? Absolutely. Voutman, kind of the same run. Before I go to my bed tonight, that's probably what I'm going to do so that I don't miss the transfer deadline. But it's likely going to be a Brighton defender, and I think I'm going to roll the other transfer and go into game week 20 with 2 free transfers. That's where I stand
Okay.
right now.
Okay, that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. That sounds good. You got a lot you're weighing up there. For me, probably a little simpler. We'd lose a transfer last week to get rid of Callum Wilson to Mitro. Wilson didn't start again, so feel kind of vindicated there, even though Mitro didn't return. Got the penalty, had a better chance. So for this weekend, from a transfer standpoint, I might honestly just roll it. I can't really see in terms of how my team is set up. I don't really see where if I were to remove Reece James, if I don't even believe I'd even play him. Just based on how I'm currently set up. I don't know who I'd play him for. Like would I bench Martinelli or bench Gabriel for him? I don't know. Or bench Trippier? Probably not. Um, if there's any news, then we probably won't get it before. But if there's anything about Cancelo, then maybe I'd get rid of James and bring in another defender. But right now, I really don't see that happening at the moment. So I'm probably going to end up just rolling the transfer in. The team is set up. I got 11 players that should play. Put air quotes around that, and then 2 on the bench. So I'm going to roll.
So with you rolling the transfer, which 4 players are you going to have on your bench?
So on the bench, it's going to be Ward going against Fulham. First coming off the bench, it's about time. Miguel Almiron. He's seeing the bench. He's going to the bench. Told you I only wanted 1 or 2 games to see what he does because never really wanted him in the team. So he's going to be on the bench. Patterson is going to be second against Brighton. And then Reece James currently third. We already lost. He already went down in price. I'll see what happens over the next couple of days. And maybe I do a little bit of like a mini wild card, but that's how the bench is set up. I could even just walk through the team and let you know how the team is going to be lining up.
Yeah.
In the back or in goal for goalkeeper, David De Gea playing Bournemouth at home. I am going to play Trippier versus Gabriel. So the back is Trippier, Gabriel, and Cancelo. Even though Newcastle is facing Arsenal, I'm just going to let that rock. Martinelli is going to start in the midfield. Kevin De Bruyne against Chelsea. Rashford against Bournemouth. Andreas with a double. Holland against Chelsea, vice captain. And Darwin against Brighton away. And then Mitrovic with the double as well.
So hold on. Who did you say is captain?
So the big gamble there. It is the time of the season. It's game week 19. It is about time. It's about time to start the gambling. Holland is playing Chelsea. Now, I want to preface this by saying I do believe that this Chelsea versus City game is going to be a 3-0 game. I think it's going to be 3-0, maybe 4-0. I think Chelsea's going to get slapped. In the odd chance that does not happen, the odd chance, Mitrovic is my captain.
I knew it. I knew it.
On Mitro. He's playing Leicester. He's also playing Chelsea, who again aren't good defensively at the moment. I'm gonna go with Mitro. It's time to take gambles.
What happens if he gets that yellow card?
If Mitro gets the yellow card,
in the Leicester game,
if he gets the yellow card in the Leicester game, that would be unfortunate. That would be very unfortunate. But
what can you do?
It's there's nothing you could do there. I can't go in with the fear of that. I have to looking at the game week, they're not, like you said, when you're trying to pick a defender, there's just not many opportunities where there's like a big contrast in terms of how good the teams are. Just gonna go with it. Take a swim for the fences. See if this can help to turn the season around. Could this be the how many times has Holland blanked? Could this be
I think it
the
twice.
what? Yeah, two times, and he didn't play the Leicester game. So could this be the third time? We're gonna take a swing for it and see what happens. Even if he doesn't and he scores one goal, cool. The fear that I have here though is when he played United, he got a big 20 pointer.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't bode well for it. But when the Liverpool game, he ended up blanking. So against the top six sides, we don't have a ton of info on it on how
Right.
he performs. So we'll see. Games at Stamford Bridge. Hopefully, we can keep him quiet or minimize him to a 6 pointer, and I'll be cool with that. I'll take my chances with neutral.
Right. Okay. I like how your team is set up, and I like the strategy of, kind of set yourself up for game week 20, and be able to have those transfers. Because I'm doing the same thing, right? I want to go into game week 20 with 2 free transfers. I thought I needed 2 free transfers, um, going into game week 19, thinking that I was going to use them, but didn't even end up happening.
Yeah.
Here's how my team is set up. I'm in a little bit of a pickle. I'm going for the Brighton defender, and I have to correct myself because at the time when I was thinking about bringing in somebody like Virgil van Dijk, that was when I was making 2 transfers because I was getting rid of Fernandez in the midfield. So
Gotcha.
it would have had to have been somebody on the cheaper end, like a Matchup, for example, who I'd be able to afford. But let's go on the assumption that I'm only making 1 transfer because I'm most likely gonna roll the second transfer that I have. So whether it's Lewis Dunk or whether it's Veltman, one of them is coming in. My bench is actually going to be Ward. This is now when I am stuck. Not 100% sure what to do. I'm contemplating between starting 4 defenders. I'm
Okay.
contemplating actually starting Ben White, but after that substitution before the 60th minute mark, that's what's throwing me off. That's why I'm saying contemplated, because I don't
Okay.
mind if he gets substituted. I just don't want him substituted before the 60th minute mark. At least get to 60 where the possibility of that clean sheet is there. So it's putting me off. And if I bring in Lewis Dunk against Everton, I'm still going to bet that Everton is going to struggle to score goals. They may have scored a goal in this past game week against a top club, but they struggle, generally speaking, to score goals. And I'm going to back Brighton to be able to keep them out of or keep them off the score sheet. I'm leaving Cancelo in there. I know it's a tough fixture against Chelsea, but if he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And then I have Trippier. So Bueno is likely who I'm keeping on the bench, but here's why I'm saying it's difficult. He's playing Aston Villa. But then again, Aston Villa scored 2 goals against Tottenham, which is now making me nervous. But Bueno, it's so tempting. It is so tempting to play him because, again, he's another player who can possibly get substituted off and then keep the clean sheet intact. And Wolves defensively against United, they weren't terrible.
They didn't look too bad. Yeah,
they they definitely weren't terrible. So that's where I'm in a bit of a pickle between somebody. Do I play all 5? That'd be insane. But do I play all 5? That's not going to happen. 4 at most. In my midfield, Salah and Fernandez and Rashford are all guaranteed to start in my midfield. But now I'm debating between Andreas and Almiron.
Wow.
And then in what order do I put them in? Andreas seems like the easiest choice because he has the double. But Andreas is also not a player to typically get you back-to-back hauls. The last time he did that was game week 10, game week 11, West Ham Bournemouth. That was the last time he got you a back-to-back haul, and that was the only time in this season where he's gotten you a back-to-back haul.
Yeah.
Chelsea's not looking that great. Leicester's not looking that great. He's probably going to get the nod over Almiron, especially because Almiron didn't do anything against Who did they face this past game week against Leeds, which is disappointing. So Almiron's probably going to be on the bench. So now I have Almiron on the bench. I have Bueno on the bench. But who's the third person who's going to be on the bench? Tony or Martial? Tony's flagged. But I'd rather play Tony and see if he comes in. But Martial is playing Bournemouth. I have a benching headache on my hands, brother. This is the biggest benching headache I've ever had of the game of the season, because Haaland is of course guaranteed to start. But I'm deciding on my bench between Bueno, Andreas, Almiron, Martial. Tony's flagged, but I think I'm going to leave him in, and maybe even Ben White and throw him in the mix.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm not sure what to do. I think I'm going to make the transfer tonight regardless, but then wait to see who I start once I've read up on some manager news, some team news.
Okay.
What's your question?
Who are you looking to captain?
Good question. I'm likely going to put the captaincy on Rashford. I think
Rashford against Bournemouth. Okay.
I think I'm going to put the captaincy on Rashford. I think I'm going to put the vice captaincy on Haaland. The reason why I want to put the captaincy on Rashford is because I see what he can do in just one half. He almost had 2 goals. If it wasn't for that, if his arm was just not there, that would have been a goal. But it just because his hand was there, even though he didn't forcefully hit the ball or anything, we know how the rules are. Touches your hand, it goes in. It's not counting. But Haaland against your team is still something that I'm contemplating. So the vice captaincy is right now I'm debating between Salah and Haaland for the vice captaincy. But Salah, Haaland, and Rashford are all in contention for the armband this particular game week. Right now it's on Rashford.
Hey, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, man. That's how the game week is set up. I'm nervous, but hopefully some good results.
Listen, there's so many questions that you have, but I get it. A lot of them are headaches. I also like the captaincy push there. I think there's a couple of episodes back I said, yo, I'm really thinking about, remember the first game week back, game week 17, I mentioned that I was thinking about really captaining Rashford versus Haaland. Rashford took home 14 points?
Yeah, it was 14 points.
14 points. I mean, Haaland still scored 13, so it's not like
you couldn't have gone wrong.
L there. Yeah, either way was right. But, the emphasis on taking that gamble was there. So I'm not mad at that at all. The game weeks, the games are coming quick and fast. We got games tomorrow, or when this video is released, games are going to be happening later on, same day potentially, depending on when it goes out. So I hope everybody is just, again, taking to those tips. Make sure you set your lineups ahead of time. Make your transfers early. Now is not the time to be waiting until the last minute. Sometimes that's good, but hey, if you're going to risk missing the deadline, don't do it. Kind of what you're saying, AC, as soon as you get home later tonight, you're going to get that done. So really looking forward to the game week. Again, if you guys are new here, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and turn your notification bells on so that you get the updates when we drop new videos. We are here every game week to assist you with your FPL plans. You can also follow us on Twitter at UpYourRankFPL. Wishing y'all the very best in game week 19. Let's turn this season around, AC. We will catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Be sure to like and subscribe.